All right, so AIM 7.2, independence movement in India and how it leads to Gandhi's assassination. All right, here we go. All right, I will give you a second here. All right, so in order to understand the partition of India and the assassination of Gandhi, these two topics are kind of intertwined here. You need to understand some things about India at the time. Okay, so the time is late 1940s, just after the end of World War II. So in India at the time, there are Hindus and there are Muslims. The majority of India is made up of Hindus, but there is a healthy Muslim population there also. Maybe 75% to 25%, something like that. So when it comes time for India to become independent from Britain, and we've gone over that over the last couple of aims, they have to work out the kind of strategy and the particulars of this whole thing. So Hindus and Muslims within India have never really gotten along. And this is something that we mentioned when we talked about imperialism, and we talked about the Sepoy Mutiny, and the conditions kind of still exist. So Hindus and Muslims really, really don't get along very well, at least not in India. Even today, there's still a lot of violence between India and what is now Pakistan and that border region. It's a very, very scary place to live. But essentially what's going to happen here is Britain is worried that if they just declare independence for India and give them their independence and pack up their stuff and leave, India essentially will devolve into this kind of state of civil war between the Hindu and Muslim populations that exist there. So Britain would like to see what's called the partition of India. And what they would like to see is they would like to see India separated into two countries. They would like to see India, and they would like to see the creation of a new country called Pakistan. And the idea is that all of the Hindus will live in India and all of the Muslims will live in Pakistan. This way, they're not fighting with each other over government representation and things like that. And everyone will live happily ever after. There's a number of reasons why that was tricky. So that's kind of what Britain wants. And that's also what a lot of the Muslims in India would like to see also. In India, the Hindus, the nationalist Hindus, would very much like to see India remain a united and then independent nation that is capable of handling its own affairs and figuring out the relationship between the Hindus and Muslims on their own. They don't want Britain to kind of dictate to them how to handle this conflict that lies within India. So those are kind of really the two sides of the story. India also has a treasury. It has its own economy. It has its own resources and things like that. So separating India into two countries, being India and Pakistan, would involve a lot of complicated negotiation and things like that. You have to figure out land, you have to figure out how to move people, and you have to figure out money also, right? So there's a lot going on here. And this debate, the debate about what will happen to India, will it be split up into two countries? That's the fancy word we're going to use there, partitioned. Is India going to be partitioned? Or is India going to remain solid and whole and left to figure out its own issues? This conflict between these 2 points of view is what lies at the heart of Gandhi's assassination. All right, I'll give you a second here. So with this topic, we're going to do really two pieces of classwork that go with this. We're going to take a look at an Ed puzzle that goes over the assassination of Gandhi. And then we're going to take a little bit of a closer look at the perspectives of different people with regard to the partition of India, who's in favor of it and why, and who is against it and why, and we're going to kind of go from there. So some of the key figures that we need to be familiar with in the, for both pieces of this classwork are listed here. So Gandhi is a person we know and we've been talking about over the course of the last couple of days, but he is kind of the inspirational figurehead kind of leader of Indian independence. He's not a politician really, although he will kind of have opinions that have political impact for sure. And he's not really, he is a devout Hindu, but he's not really, interested in exalting the Hindus and as a result kind of suppressing the Muslims. He's more of an Indian nationalist more so than anything else. His focus is to create an India that is free and independent and whole. And that is his vision. One of his followers is a guy named Nehru. He will eventually become the first prime minister of India. So once India does gain its independence, the first kind of political leadership that India has will be in the person of Nehru. He's a follower of Gandhi in the sense that he is kind of this Indian nationalist who is, certainly in favor of a united and independent India, but he is more of the politician of the two for sure. Where Gandhi is kind of more of the inspirational spiritual leader, Nehru is more of the nuts and bolts mechanical political leader. So Gandhi and Nehru kind of work hand in glove together in the matter of Indian independence. And like we mentioned, the other kind of key aspect of India at the time is that it's made up of both Muslims and Hindus, okay? And the Muslim population has their own leader in India in the form of this guy, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Now, he's a Muslim leader in India, and he kind of takes the other side. He is of the opinion that that India should be separated into two different countries, one for Muslims and one for Hindus. This way, everyone kind of gets along and there's no issues. Ultimately, Ali Jinnah's fear is that if India is left independent and, is left to kind of figure out its own fate, that ultimately, because the Muslims are so outnumbered by the Hindus will dominate government representation and dominate policy making and things like that. And this will make life significantly more difficult for the Muslims that live in India. So this free and united India is certainly something that Ali Jinnah is scared of and does not necessarily want to see. So these are the key players in the partition of India and the kind of final stages of India getting its independence from Britain.